Welcome back to PCW, where today we are breaking down everything from WWE Smackdown. Smackdown this week had one mission in mind, and it was definitely the rise of Cesaro. To that point, they continually showed us a UFO/airplane spin that Cesaro performed at WrestleMania and called it the greatest WrestleMania footage you've ever seen. That was a shocker. Smackdown also featured a certain lack of follow-up, with only promos for Sasha Banks and Apollo Crews. Meanwhile, Big E, Bayley, Edge, Daniel Bryan did not feature at all. We opened with Roman Reigns coming down to gloat about his victory at WrestleMania. As an aside, Pat McAfee is now on commentary instead of Corey Graves, and for me, his excitement and his enthusiasm actually detracted a little bit from the show because it made it much harder to concentrate on what was actually going on in the ring. As Roman was celebrating, he was interrupted in the typical "I'm cutting a promo in WWE and so I must be interrupted" style by Cesaro. This is a feud I'm very excited to see. Roman would dismiss Cesaro, completely ignoring him and walking away from him, but Cesaro would go backstage to Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. Essentially, he would ask for a match with Roman on this very night, even if it was non-title. Sonya Deville would try and make that happen, but via the medium of Paul Heyman we would find out that it was only going to be Cesaro versus Jey Uso for the main event, with no title possibly on the line. Rey Mysterio managed to beat Otis by catching him unawares and rolling him up within 3 minutes. This is a bit of revenge for Rey Mysterio and sort of suggests that this particular feud is over, but at the same time, when the tag division is crying out for teams, you really don't want to end one of the only feuds going between them. There are of course a number of rumours as per Chad Gable's contract being up within the week, so it could be that we see him leaving soon, thus leaving Otis to become a mid-card heel and essentially dead in the water potentially, so they have to be careful with that. It's also true of course that with all the releases that happened recently, they do need to keep hold of certain stars who are actually on the track to the top. Otis is kind of one of them. We had a WrestleMania rematch as Sami Zayn came down to the ring to complain, so it's just a Sami Zayn complain segment, and Kevin Owens would come down to shut him up, eventually succeeding at doing so when Sami Zayn ran away, much like Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke did from Nia Jax on Raw. At least the person who lost was supposed to be the coward in this one. Apollo Crews celebrated his Intercontinental Championship reign, introducing the newly named Commander Aziz, formerly Dabba-Kato and Babatunde. A mouthful in every regard. The second hour draw segment featured the Street Profits, who introduced Bianca Belair for her own celebration promo. A very strong celebration promo that really showed what Bianca Belair can be now that she is the champion. This then led into a tag team championship match between the Street Profits and the Dirty Dogs, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, and this for me was an extremely good match. Plenty of time given to it, lots of high flying, lots of very quick tags and some good near falls. Ziggler and Roode did eventually win the match, largely because Ziggler was able to get a tag without really giving the game away and sneak in for the victory. This feud looks like it's now settled, they couldn't beat them clean, so the Street Profits will have to move on to someone else. Maybe Otis and Chad Gable, or maybe there'll be someone new coming into the tag division. Natalya took on Shayna Baszler, and Shayna Baszler extended her losing record to 9 straight singles matches. However, even in just about 3 minutes, these two showed that there's actually a lot of promise there. Natalya and Shayna Baszler really worked well together, really seemed to have some good chemistry, and their mat wrestling was very, very good, leading into some submission moves. I'd like to see more of this without so many of the outside theatrics, and with some actual time to perform. Finally, our main event was the aforementioned Cesaro versus Jey Uso. Jey Uso essentially acting as a gatekeeper, preventing Cesaro from reaching Roman Reigns. Jey Uso has not been picking up the wins recently, but he has been consistently main eventing. The most recent loss of course was against Daniel Bryan in the street fight, and Daniel Bryan is nowhere to be seen this week. When it comes to this match in particular, Cesaro showed off his range of offense, Jey Uso essentially taking the hits, before the late arrival of Seth Rollins stopped Cesaro in his tracks. Cesaro did win via DQ, meaning that he could still be getting a chance at Roman, and I think will get a chance of Roman at WrestleMania Backlash. However, Seth Rollins seems on a mission to stop him from doing so. I suspect next week's main event will be Cesaro once again, but this time in a rematch with Seth Rollins. This week's SmackDown was good, but did lack star power and really overplayed certain things. Pat McAfee needs to calm down a little bit before we can really start saying that he's doing a great job. At the same time, we saw Bianca Belair celebrate, we saw Roman Reigns celebrate, Apollo Crews celebrate, lots of celebration, and a certain lack of star power when it comes to Edge, Daniel Bryan, Sasha Banks, Bayley and the like, who did not appear. The women got little to nothing on this show apart from Bianca Belair getting an introduction and a promo. The actual women's match was very short and featured Raw wrestlers, as has become very common. The effort to take Cesaro into the main event though is very, very welcome, as you might imagine. Seth Rollins once again will be a gatekeeper, but it's shown now that Cesaro does want to take his shot against Roman Reigns, and Roman does need new challenges because it looks like Edge and Daniel Bryan are going to be moved on. I wouldn't expect to see Edge again for a while, possibly not on SmackDown at all. So overall, some good, some bad, an interesting show that did deliver in several capacities, but in other ones, for example the 8 or 9 different times we saw that UFO spin, really left you quite frustrated. I've been Tom Colohue, you're watching the PCW Wrestling channel, and I will see you for Raw.